Chapter 20. In the northern part of New Baden, the more prosperous of the two continents, an unprecedented magnitude Marsquake struck. Thousands had been evacuated from the area, but still thousands were killed. The evacuated people were located on the western side of the quake, which was heading east to the mountains, eating everything in its jagged path. At midnight, the quake diminished. By 1 in the moonless morning, it had stopped. Tians began to move again, heading west away from the monster. Thousands of AGMs, hundreds of solar rollers trying to escape. At 3 o'clock in the morning, the land began to shake and grind. It undulated eastwards, then stopped. Complete eerie silence. No breeze, no bird song, no quake. It was now 6 in the darkest hour, just before the dawn. Then an enormous explosion. Thousands of acres lifted high in the Martian air, throwing debris hundreds of miles around, leaving a crater 50 miles wide. Then the quake turned westward. It rumbled along, 8 miles below, tearing the landscape, huge swaths of forest disappearing into the yawning mouth of the angry quake. It travelled along, seeming to know where to destroy. Suddenly, the huge uproar stopped again, 5 miles from the city of Analonia, a city of over 60 million people, plus thousands of refugees. The experts had claimed that it had worn itself out. The granite plates below the only city were stable. A newscaster waved a quake report and said, "No quake in our city." At first, there was a slight noise throughout the city. It was like a large AGM. People listened and then just shrugged their shoulders. No quake in our city. Then it began to wake up. A whispering breath began to wander through the city. It ambled through the streets, gently moving leaves on trees, lining the busy avenues. A skirt wafted. She held it down with one hand. His hat skittered across the pavement. He picked it up. The gentle breeze meandered along. Her long hair ruffled. The breath began to sigh, building into a breeze, suddenly a wind. Abandoned papers and rubbish began to move along the roadways. She had to get into a store, but the wind held the door closed. He tried to help her, but the wind... It began to blow a hoolie. She lost her grip on the door handle, tumbling down the sidewalk, disappearing in the abandoned papers and rubbish. He soon followed her, crashing into the side of a store window, glass cutting him to pieces. The hoolie clambered into the store. It hurled at the store fixtures, shelves emptied. Tian's apparel torn apart. Tians crushed against the walls, some thrown up into the ceiling. No one escaped the hoolie. It destroyed the store. Then ran amok down the street, ripping trees from the ornate boxes. The wind now mixed with the grinding noises of the Mars quake, taking away people as though they were made of gel. 1 second, talking on a voice box, the next, gone. smashing the walls, crumbling them into grains of sand. The wind, now a hurricane, tore off roofs. The beautiful coloured flower gardens gone, but nothing but mud and streaked of mixed yellow, blues, reds, pinks, all intermixing with the red soil mush. It ran in a frenzy, plucking ancient trees, throwing them into buildings, smashing AGMs, reducing them to scrap. Then the quake took over. Windows burst, showering shoppers with shards of glass, striking them like samurai swords. Walls collapsed, buildings sank into the ground, water rushed down the main street from the river. It was too late for the throngs of people pushing and shoving. The massive dam wall that held the beautiful lake began to crack. Tovil Panray, the dam manager, felt a slight bump on his chair. He stood up. As he did, he thought he was having a fainting spell. The room seemed to move, or was it him? It stopped as soon as it started, but as he reached the window overlooking the dam wall, he saw the spray of water shooting out of the crack. He thought to run, but as he did, the crack became falling concrete. The dam wall disappeared in front of his eyes. The lake's wall of water was incomprehensible. It seemed to Tovil that it was frozen for a moment, and he could see into the wall of water. Then the sound and sight of a lake so massive, emptying into the gorge, was maddening. Tovil screamed as the water washed away the 3 gigantic turrets on the dam wall. And then the overflow tunnel overflowed. He couldn't take the pressure and buckled at the entrance. Tovil and his office were flattened, then washed into the gorge below. Millions of tons of water flooded the gorge. The quake opened the forest, and the water cascaded into the beleaguered city. As the sound grew, people in the streets fell, holding their hands over their ears. The noise was so loud it was enough to wake the 7 sleepers. The quake gathered strength, and it moved and lifted the granite plates, shaking the buildings where the thousands had taken shelter. Then it began to devour them. The dam waters disappeared into the quake, taking bodies, buildings, and all and sundry. The whole area, 2,000 square miles, were destroyed. Buildings collapsed, houses were just crumpled to dust. Forests disappeared, rivers ran dry, water taken by the quake underground, encased in miles of solid rock caves. People just vanished in the quake. Analonia no longer existed. It was reduced to dust. It took just 10 minutes. The 300-foot tsunami rose out of the ocean like a chariot's team of wild horses charging around the arena looking for the laurels. It smothered the coastline, devouring the towns, the people, the ground. It rolled across the hillsides into the cities. Nothing was left. It merged with the Mars quake, disappearing with it. Her message had been ignored. The chancellors were much too busy. When the news reached the capital, Lexander, 2 days later, there were no people alive in the line. When the news reached the capital, Lexington, 2 days later, there were no people alive in the West. Moreover, the quake had moved to the next city, Salud. It obliterated it so much. The landscape changed. Hills and woodlands disappeared, buildings swallowed by the quake. It shook for 12 hours. No one survived. Salud was reduced to a flat, barren wasteland. Nothing was ever found of anything or anyone.